Hello out there, everybody. I'm back here on the 2014 Ecotech 1.4 Turbo. We got a problem over here with the water outlet. It's leaking, and I think it's busted underneath. Right here is this plastic piece coming in the side here. It's got a hose that hooks up in the top right here. It's got, that's the hose coming from the reservoir here. Then there's a hose on the back side of it. There's two more on the front side coming in. So we got the radiator. It's hooked to it, and then we got one that goes down into the engine by the manifold. But yeah, I've got to unhook the hoses first and then go for the plastic part itself. It's got 4 bolts in it, or 3 bolts, one there and one on the bottom, and then there's one up here on the front that's on the bottom. You can see it right there. But yeah, I've got the intake hose already off here. I've got the hose that comes off the reservoir already taken off, and now I got to take off the radiator hose and the one that goes in the engine here and the one that goes back towards the firewall there. So yeah, I'll unhook those hoses and then be ready to remove the water outlet itself. Okay, you guys, we've got down to unhooking all of the hoses now. As you can see there, we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's one back that way. Got one right down here under this intake, and the hose I'd set up here. There it is, going back in towards the firewall. Okay, now these clamps on here, I was going to tell you on the clamps, I'm going to opt to take these old stubborn clamps off. Actually, I can't stand them. They make a special pair of pliers to use on them. It's got little things on the end. You can see the grooves in it right there. It's designed to grab these clamps. See in this part, let me get one where you can see it real good here. I can get some light down in here on the situation. Okay, you've got this one here. You can see the 2 little ears sticking up. That's where those grooves in the clamp will go on this end and on this end, and you squeeze it together, and these are some pretty powerful little clamps here. I'm going to choose to use just a regular water clamp this time when I put it back. I'm going to use just some of these here, just regular water clamps, because they're a lot easier to deal with. But I also might want to point out that you could probably have better luck, I know I always do, with just a regular pair of channel locks on those. I was trying to find my pair of channel locks that I just used on them. I'm not seeing them, but I may have them back in the tool bag here. Yeah, here's the channel locks I used on them. They seem to work a lot better in my opinion. But anyway, I'm going to replace these little aggravating clamps right here, that kind of clamp, with a regular water clamp, which is this kind of clamp. And I already have 2 replaced with those now. Yeah, I have the one on the intake hose here. It's replaced with one of those, and I have one on that back hose coming out. So it's not gave me any problems. So apparently it is possible to use those and it not give you a problem. But just a little pointer that might help you guys out. Okay, now I'm going to move on to taking the bolts out of the outlet to remove it, and that's my next step. Okay, now guys, I've got the the outlet off now, you can see all the gasket maker that's on the side of the motor block here, or the head of the motor, whatever. But anyway, I've got to get all that cleaned off that surface. I had to take one off and actually put it back on, and that's why I had to use the gasket maker, because I didn't have a new gasket when I had to put the other one back on. But yeah, don't be like me and forget this sensor is in the outlet as well. I forgot about that, so I went to pull it out and there's something stuck it in. I'm like, what's up now? And yeah, that was hooked like right there in it. So yeah, and I had forgotten that it was in there. See, your thermostat's down in there. And yeah, so just remember to be cautious of the sensor hooked in the top of it there, or the side of it, whatever. But yeah, now I'm gonna clean that surface, and if I'm not mistaken, I should be able to just take this washcloth, bleached out washcloth, and I have some just rubbing alcohol here, like you would put on a cut, you know. Have some of that to spray on the side of the motor block, or the motor there, and to just get that stuff off. That should bring it off quite well. But yeah, just remember, if you do use that method, to don't just super saturate it, because alcohol is flammable and that motor gets very hot. So yeah, keep that in mind. You don't want to soak it down and there be too much and it not be evaporated and cause a engine fire, because as you can see, there's a lot of critical components down there to your engine that are plastic. So yeah, that won't go over too well, all them sensors and hoses and wires and all the rest. So just know, if you use rubbing alcohol to clean it with, that you don't want to put too much of it, because it may not be a good idea. It might cause a fire under your hood. You never want fire under the hood, that's for certain. But this is everywhere on it. I had just a couple days ago done that, actually, and put that on there, just enough to get me by until I got the new part anyway. Had doctor's appointments, things like that I had to get to, so I just had to make do for a moment with some gasket maker. But down here where I'm putting this rag now on the transmission here, you want to dry that up as best you can, because if you have, once you put on the new parts, you want to be able to see that it's not leaking. If you have a leak, you know, that'll be the place you'll see it at out of the part I'm putting on right now. So yeah, just keep that in mind, that you want to get that as dry as you possibly can, and that way you can tell if it's leaking, the new part's leaking from the gasket or whatever. I'm going to get my new part out here and show you the gasket on the back side of it real quick before I pause my video again. Okay, as you can see, there's the thermostat in that one, and you got the gasket around here. But make sure that you don't touch that area and get any oils from your hands on it, and make sure it's not dirty at all in any way in that area, because that will prevent you from getting a good seal. And so, you know, that's not what you want to do in the liquid part of the coolant system. But then when you clean off the side of the engine down there where it butts up at, you want to be certain there doesn't have any oils from your fingers either. My dad used to always tell me that that wouldn't be a good thing. That could cause your gasket to not bond properly if it had some sort of oils in it, or maybe even dirt to stick to it. So yeah, just keep that in mind, that you want this part here to stay very clean. You don't want to ever touch it. And then the same on the side of the motor. You may have to touch it there, but just go over it with, you know, a washcloth or a shop cloth, whatever, and get any kind of oils off of it, so you don't hinder getting your seal. So far I have never had a seal leak on me. I'm almost 41 years old, and I've done quite a few seals in my life and never had one leak to this day. And I like to think it's because my dad had taught me better than leaving a dirty surface is the biggest point of that. And yeah, so just make sure you wipe it off if you get any oils, if you touch it with your fingers. Okay, now we've got down to ready to put it back on again. As you can see around the surface there, I have got it cleaned out. It had that gasket down there all over it. But I went ahead and cleaned that up. But I decided, because of the flammable nature of alcohol and the heat involved in an engine, especially that part of the engine, I went ahead and just sprayed some on this old bleached out washcloth here. I just sprayed the alcohol, put it on it, and then took it and rubbed the surface with it. And there was a little bit remaining around the top there. So I took the washcloth and put over the tip of my knife there like that, and just wiped it, you know, harder like that. And that actually helped a lot. But yeah, just remember to put your alcohol on your washcloth and scrub it with it. That's probably the best way, because, you know, we don't want to cause a fire under the hood. That's the last thing we're wanting to do here. I don't think that would make matters better. But I'm going to clean all that up down there that's still on the transmission there, and get it all off. And all them crumbs would just probably melt and stink, and, you know, cause the wife to think that the car's going to fall apart or something messed up or something, she'd probably think. But yeah, she's got to go out of state in it to a funeral, and yeah, I would like to have it in tip-top condition here for her to make sure she gets there and back safely. But yeah, you see the surface of that, how clean I made sure to get that. That is so essential when putting on any gasket, because any little bit of debris of any kind will cause you to have a leak. Any oils from your fingers, don't forget that, will cause you to possibly have a leak too. So yeah, just get your surface looking like that, even if it's got all that on it. Take your time and be patient and get all of it off. And one thing's for sure, if you use a knife to kind of scratch at it, do not scratch the surface right here. That's a pretty light metal, I guess you can call it. It's aluminum alloy, I do believe, and it'd be easy to scratch little indentions in it with a knife. So make certain you don't put enough pressure on your blade to do that, because yeah, you don't want to put indentions where you're going to be putting a gasket. Needless to say, that will cause a gasket to not seal, to have a bunch of little divots in it where you want it to seal up at. So that's the way you want it to look when you apply your new part. Until it looks like that, don't stop cleaning on it. Okay, my new part is over here in the box. There it is. And now finally I'll be ready to install this. And if you guys can tell, I don't have a garage at this moment in time, so you know, Dad's outside working again in the dark, but you know, that's the privilege of a headlamp, I guess. Not a big deal. I'll make it work. Too country not to. Okay, so I'm going to put this new thermostat up in there back on it. I think it's awful that I have to buy this whole unit just for the thermostat, or if this sensor goes down on the other side, same deal, you got to buy it all to replace that sensor right there. So I can't remember the name of the sensor right off. It's just been so much of a headache, hard to keep up with all of it. But yeah, now I'm ready to put my part back on. And remember, when you tighten these bolts down right here, they're a 10, I think it's Torx head might be the name of those. They're a 10 is the socket that fits them. And remember, when you're putting them on, that this is plastic right here, so you don't want to put that too tight. And you also do not want to touch the back side like I just did. So I'm going to take my rag and wipe the oils away from that, so I can be certain not to cause myself to have a leak here. I'm telling you guys to watch with the oils, and then I'm putting it in my hand talking to you about it. So yeah, when you tighten those bolts, don't over tighten, because you can crack the plastic. Of course, we all know how cheap plastic is and how easy it'll break, which really don't make any sense to put plastic in the coolant system, because you know that gets extremely hot, and well, then it cools down to whatever temps we got outside. So especially in the winter time, just imagine this goes from as hot as the engine coolant is overnight, you know, it's sitting outside, it's going to be as cold as the outside temperature gets. And yeah, it's pretty obvious that plastic is not going to last a really long time, getting that hot and that cold, that hot, that cold. You know, it's just going to wear out pretty quick. This little piece here was the last piece that wore out on it that I had to replace. The reservoir hose here goes down right there over it. I have a zip tie I've got to cut off of it right now, because I lost it's got a little clip right here I lost down in my engine, so I used a zip tie just to make do with. It seemed to work. There's another little metal clamp goes through right here. It's right there. It goes through here when you put it down on top of the part right here. And so anyway, you put the hose down on, you put the metal clip through, and then I'm going to put another zip tie. It seemed to work last time, to put it in this area right here is where the clip actually was, right here in this area. So as you can see, I got the zip tie there. I just wrap it around there, and that seems to hold it. I can't really tell how it holds anything, but I just assume it does. They had a plastic clip there, so apparently it's needed there for some reason. Try to put it back as close to what they had it with the other clip as I could anyway. But my plastic clip somewhere down in there. Have no idea where it went to. But yeah, now I'm going to get this back together. I've tried to shorten up the video, take out all the boring parts, you know, where I'm just sitting turning bolts, because I'm pretty sure everybody can see me say you put this there, and you know you got to turn the bolts right here. Of course, it's a 10, it's the size of the socket. Torx head, I think, is the name of them. So yeah, you take a size 10 on those, and then the clamps that I'm putting on, of course, you know, you just depend on what water clamp you use as to what size it'll be. Or you can go with the clamps that come on it, and you can buy a set of these, but them's useless, I think. To me anyway, they're useless. Channel locks there under them's better for me. Would much rather use channel locks on one of these old fussy clips right here. Oh, I hate them. I hate them. They got a lot of strength though. You can see where it's been clamped there. It's got a groove in that rubber line. But I'm just going to come back and put a water clamp on it and call it a done deal. I already put a water clamp on. Let's see, where's it at? It's right here. That one right there, I've already had a water clamp on it. It had one of those metal clamps right there to start with, and well, I hate them. So I had been threatening to take them off and do away with them, and as you can see, there's two hoses right here that's got them on it. I've been threatening it for 2 or 3 times now, working on it, and well, yeah, I'm just fed up with them now, so I'm definitely going to put my water clamps back on it. But this is a faulty part on the Buick, in my opinion. I'll be sure to put that out there. I don't want to be sued by Buick or anything, but yeah, to put a plastic part in a coolant system just don't make any sense, especially not the little sleeve right here that goes down in there. It's pretty thin, so hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. How long can it last, really? I mean, That just seems to be common sense to me. Tells me it's going to wear out pretty quick. Told the wife the first time I had to put one of these outlets on that I was thinking it would be a headache with the car. And well, I've paid half the price off of it I owe. So yeah, it used to be pay for them and then have to work on them, but apparently in today's world it's not the same. Still got a pretty good sized payment book in there, and I feel like a man shouldn't have to be under the hood if he's still holding a payment book with payments in it. But it is what it is. Now I'm gonna get this back on there and yeah, hopefully get finished up before midnight. Okay, now I've got everything back together now. I cleaned up a bunch of that blue gasket that was on there, gasket maker. It's a little bit down in a hole there if I get it out with the knife here in a minute. But I've got everything except the zip tie and the place of the plastic clip there on that part. I've got everything back up the way it should be. I've got those hoses hooked up with water clamps, not those really annoying metal clamps. Oh, those drive me nuts. But yeah, I've got that little piece right there, which I've already had to in the past replace this little piece. So yeah, that little piece there is definitely something I'll put back because it may be needed again. One time it leaked, but again, we'll go to the plastic parts on the coolant system, which don't make good sense. But yeah, well, unless you're trying to make money, it does make pretty good sense in that aspect to parts dealers, I guess. But yeah, that's it. We got it all in there, and I'm gonna put a zip tie on that, and I will be completely finished with the outlet. So I hope I help somebody out there with it. Hopefully if you go through this process, I can save you a corner or something, you know, cut it off and make it a little easier for you or something. But yeah, one more thing, be sure to clean all your water up down there so you can see if you have a leak after you get everything up and together. Be sure you remember to get you some grease to put on your gasket when you put it back on. It calls for that. Well, I hope I helped you in doing this job, and good luck if you're in the middle of it. Good luck.